What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Bold Business. I'm your host, Philip Michael, and let's get right to this week's trends. Now, here's a trend you may have heard about. El Salvador officially became the first country to make Bitcoin legal tender, which in layman's speak means that they are adopting it as a currency. Lawmakers voted by a supermajority in favor of the Bitcoin law. Prices for everyday products can now be shown in Bitcoin, taxes can be paid with Bitcoin, and citizens won't have to pay capital gains tax when they exchange it. That's a big one right there. Now, about 70% of El Salvador doesn't have access to financial services. So according to the Bitcoin law, the plan is to increase financial inclusion by adopting Bitcoin. The government plans to give the population the necessary training and mechanisms to access Bitcoin transactions. One last note on this, El Salvador's president, Nayib Bukele, is also making sustainable Bitcoin mining a priority using reusable energy from volcanoes. Wow. Now, this is a story that might erupt. Get it? Volcano erupt. Now, this is obviously big news for Bitcoin because what Bitcoin sought to do was to come in here and disrupt the financial systems. Again, it's more so a pilot or a microcosm of something that could be big versus an indication of something going big because let's be fair, El Salvador has a GDP of what, 26 billion, which is about half of Rhode Island, which is, and this is not according to me, this is according to studies and an article that I read on Business Insider last night that said it is the worst economic state and it has the worst roads and a bunch of tough stuff. So we have to look at it for what it is. Another thing is this is a place where, think about Bitcoin that way, it's been very popular in the underground markets, the black markets as they call it. And this is really a test for El Salvador to see how this works within their system. Another thing they're doing, they're offering free citizenships to anyone that can prove that they've invested in 3 Bitcoin. So it's an interesting experiment for sure. Does it mean that Bitcoin now is becoming money? No, because guess what? The US dollar still works there too. So it's just a complement versus something that will supplement. Does that make sense? It's something to add to the mix. It's not going to replace what's there. And that's pretty much what I've said all along, that the use case for Bitcoin may not be that it's going to replace money. It's something that can supplant money, that can add to the mix of money. Crypto asset versus cryptocurrency. Another conversation for another time. But it is something that's interesting to watch, and let's see what happens next. Now, trend number 2. You're probably paying more taxes than the billionaires. Did you realize that? This isn't necessarily a surprise, but it's never fun to hear. So investigative nonprofit organization, they find news and they investigate stuff. ProPublica, they got access to a huge archive of IRS information showing how billionaires like Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, and Warren Buffett pay little in income tax compared to their massive wealth. And sometimes they don't pay any taxes at all. In 2018, Elon Musk paid no federal taxes. Jeff Bezos paid no income tax in 2007 and 2011. Meanwhile, the average American household earned about $70,000 annually and paid 14% in federal taxes. Now, here's another example of the unfair tax ratio. From 2014 to 2018, Warren Buffett had $24.3 billion. Wow. And his total income reported was only $125 million. See the disparity right there? He paid $23.7 million in taxes, which was only 0.1% of his wealth. Now, again, it's one of those interesting talking points, but it's not necessarily an apples to apples comparison. Look at the key word here is income tax. What is the reason behind Elon Musk becoming as wealthy as he is? It's because Tesla grew in value and a lot of his wealth is tied up in Tesla stock. In fact, he says that he doesn't sell any of his stock unless he's forced to because of stock options expiring and things of that nature. And with your net worth growing, that doesn't mean that is your income that's growing. Does that make sense? For instance, since for the past many years, Jeff Bezos has made around $80,000 a year is his base salary. Mark Zuckerberg gets, what, $1 in salary, and Elon Musk doesn't take a salary at all. So that is that is tied to why they don't pay the income tax. In addition, you don't actually get taxed on your wealth growing unless you sell your stock. That's when it becomes a taxable event. Until it's a taxable event, you don't really have to pay any taxes because they're deferred. So for that reason, they don't pay any tax. So it's not really an apples to apples comparison to the average American, but it is something that's really, really interesting. But just think about this. If anything, this should give you or offer you an incentive to actually go out there and start a business, build wealth, because all the laws are built, created, and written to, again, incentivize those that go out there and create jobs, create opportunity, boost the economy. That's just how it is. In real estate, the same thing. You have so many benefits from owning real estate that it's... Do you all remember when it came out that Donald Trump only paid $750 in taxes? They tried to attack him, and he just didn't care. He goes, "So what? I'm smart. That makes me smart." That's what he said. So just something to think about. Again, if you make a lot of money, you pay a lot of taxes, again, in salary. But building wealth is where it's at. If you want to avoid taxes, that is. But it's an interesting talking point for sure. And it's very revealing to see that these wealthy guys don't really pay anything at all. Anyway, on to the next subject. Singer-producer extraordinaire Pharrell Williams is opening a group of small private schools for students from low-income families. The first one will be in Norfolk, Virginia. And the school will be tuition-free and called Yellow Hab, after his nonprofit Yellow and the name of the habitat on Mars from the movie The Martian. That's interesting. Yellow Hab has no plans to seek any government support to make it a charter school. Now, the school will initially enroll between 40 and 50 students, all 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade age, but classes won't be divided by age but skill level. That's interesting. And of course, they plan to open more schools in the coming years, including in middle schools in 2022. Education is one of those things that I personally feel strongly about. And again, these views I'm about to express, let me preface it by saying this are mine and mine alone, and no one else's. That said, the way, to me, the education system is set up, whether it's for kids, whether it's when you get to college, comes from a time, it was written at a time and created at a time when we didn't have the democratized access to information via the internet, Google, so on and so forth, that we have now. For that reason, you're starting to see a greater gap between college graduates, people that come out with student loans, and the opportunities that they now have. Remember, back in the day, a college degree was sort of your admission slip. It was like your VIP ticket to the workplace in lieu of experience. If you had experience, that's what shows that you can do the job, and that brings you into the party. If you had a college degree that says, yo, you have a degree in business or in engineering, that means you can be employed in that field. Not so much anymore. Now you need a degree and the experience. So what does that say for college or the college degree? So there's long been, in my opinion, again, the need for education to be disrupted, education to be rethought, and really become revamped, because the way it is right now, for instance, they don't teach financial literacy in schools. They don't teach any social skills. They don't teach emotional intelligence. A lot of the things that you really need to become successful in this world, especially now when everything has become increasingly virtual. You may have heard of over the past year, children are losing social skills from being locked in the house, just being with their family. This is serious business. So overall, Pharrell Williams doing this makes me happy. I can't sing for nothing. But yeah, good for him. Let's see how it works. At the very least, I think it is telling that people are starting to rethink education. You're seeing it more and more and more. And to be honest, I feel like the education system is so antiquated, outdated, useless. And trust me, I'm someone who exhausted education, learned absolutely nothing. The most I learned probably was in journalism school when it told me not to bury the lead. Next subject. Anyway.